the only realistic diet you can actually make progress with. The only diet that you can stick to long term is the 80-20 diet. Now, there are so many diets out there that you could try your best to stick to: carnivore diet, keto, vegetarian, vegan, whatever. There are so many diets out there. But the truth is, they are actually quite restrictive. Many diets just get rid of whole food groups. Many diets are just simply too intense. And if you think about it, we don't just want to have a good diet for a few months to lose weight. Obviously, we want that because we want to make short-term progress. But in the long run, we want a diet that we can sustain for the rest of our life, which is going to help us with longevity. It's going to mean we live longer. It's going to mean we have better life quality, etc. So, what is the diet? This is what it consists of. 80% of the time, you eat the real whole foods. Let me just stop there. This means the foods that you can see from a tree, that grows from a tree, that comes from a plant, that can be harvested from an animal. Real whole foods, usually one ingredient foods: meat, eggs, fruit, vegetables, have amazing multivitamins, have amazing vitamins in them, have amazing macronutrients. They are going to be high in protein, high in fiber. They're going to keep you full up. They're going to help you build muscle, help you lose fat, etc. 80% of the time, you eat these real whole foods. Let me give you an example or compare what a real whole food is compared to something that's quite artificial and not real. So, for example, you have a steak, okay? I know it's quite primal of a food, but anyway, you have a steak, right? That's just steak. It's meat, it comes from the animal, and that's it, all right? Then we have a Pop-Tart. You compare the two. First of all, you can tell which one's real and which one's fake. But the Pop-Tart, it's artificially made. It isn't from a tree. You can't go outside and pick it from a tree. It doesn't have one ingredient. It's multiple chemical compounds, ingredients coming together and chemically created to be the way it is. It's artificial. It's created in some lab or factory. It's not real, okay? Those are processed foods. They are highly palatable. You can eat loads of them and not get full up. You crave them, etc. All right? Very, very, very hard to make progress when you're eating those types of foods all of the time. All right? Real whole foods, meat, eggs, fruit, vegetables, etc. So 80% of the time, eat those good whole foods. Make sure the foundation of your diet, 4 meals a day, are the real whole foods. You could have a plate of meat. You could have a plate of just meat, one meal. You could have a plate of, you could have some carbs. You could have maybe rice, pasta. Obviously, there's a lot of debate about those foods. Who cares? Then there's maybe some vegetables on there, a bit more meat. Just make sure you get protein in every meal if you want to be building muscle as well. Now, remember, this diet is good for dropping body fat. It's good for your health, and it's also good for building muscle. So any goal you have is going to be met with this diet. Likely, you want to do all of those things. So this diet meets all of those needs. Now, something that is very important is the other 20% of this diet. So we talked about 80% of the time, you're eating the real healthy foods. Everyone knows a diet needs to be quite healthy and you eat those foods anyway. So that's fine, right? But where a lot of people go wrong, and where I went wrong for a long time, I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I made a lot of mistakes in my time. I basically, and many people, think you can just eat those foods all of the time, and that's it. The truth is, you're not that disciplined. I wasn't that disciplined. I'm still not that disciplined to be able to stick to such a restrictive diet like that. Obviously, you're including all the food groups, but you're going to miss out on social events. You're going to miss out on birthdays, Christmases, etc. if you don't eat them processed foods. So that's why I say 20% of the time, eat those fun processed foods. Because if you don't, you are likely to make less memories in your life. You are less likely to enjoy yourself on this earth. You are more likely to stop dieting overall because it's too restrictive. I did a cut where I lost over 8 kg. You're thinking, wow, well done. That's a lot of weight, right? Yes, obviously, that's great. But I literally put all of the weight back on maybe 1 or 2 months after, because the whole time I was dieting down, I restricted myself so much. I only ate the real whole foods. I don't remember one cheat meal I had. I only ate the real whole foods, and guess what? I put on all the weight back, and it was simply because I was restricting myself too much. The diet exhaustion was so high, and when I was finally done losing the weight, I was just stuffing my face with anything because I felt so restrictive. Now it's time to enjoy myself. Bang, put all the weight back on, and yeah, that was horrible. So you need that 20%. The 80% obviously is where you're going to be making your growth in muscle, where you're going to be dropping body fat, where you're going to be healthy, live for longer when you eat that first 80% of the diet. But then you have the balance of 20% where you can enjoy yourself. You don't feel too restrictive. You don't feel like you're on this horrible like diet that you just don't enjoy. You can't enjoy events. So 20% of the time, go and eat the Pop-Tarts. Go and eat the Doritos. Go and, I don't know, eat the birthday cake, whatever. But the best way to know if it's 20%, there's a few ways. So say, for example, for, I don't know, 10 days, right? 10 days straight. You have 8 days where you eat the real whole foods. And then you have 2 days where maybe you just have a day where you eat the processed foods. That would be 20% of the time you're eating the processed foods, 8% of the time you're eating the real whole foods. A better way, I believe, is say, I track my calories, which I suggest you probably should, just so you know what you're eating and make sure you're in a calorie deficit if you want to lose weight, make sure you're getting your macros in, etc. Anyway, what you could do is you could track your calories for the day and have, I don't know, say 2,000 of it be the real whole foods. You get all your protein in, all the micronutrients, all the macronutrients you need. You've hit all your goals. And then maybe you have 500, 600 calories left of whatever you want. That is sustainable, in my opinion. That is going to allow you to make even more progress. Because remember, progress isn't just in the short term, it's in the long term. And if you're on a diet that you can't stick to in the long run, something is wrong. You cannot stick to a diet like carnivore, keto, vegetarian, vegan, that gets rid of whole food groups for the rest of your life. You simply can't. Maybe 1% of the population can. It is so restrictive, and also it's not good for your health to not have all the food groups. You think cavemen were only eating, obviously cavemen aren't the pinnacle of health, but they were the most natural beings, we could say. They weren't just eating meat all of the time. Obviously, there would be maybe a week where they would just be eating the boar that they slayed, whatever. But then there'd be weeks where they just have berries. There'd be weeks where, I don't know, they just have carbs. I don't know, what carbs they eat. I don't know. Anyway, they would have the whole range of food groups. They'd be getting vitamins in. They'd be getting macronutrients, micronutrients. Why are we now destroying food groups, saying carbs are so bad? Oh no, protein's actually bad. Oh no, fats are actually bad. None of them are bad. No macronutrient, micronutrient is bad. All of them serve a purpose. Let me give you an example. Carbohydrates, really good at fueling all your workouts, right? Carbs are going to be really good pre-workout, even post-workout. They're really good at energizing you for the day. If you don't have carbs, you're likely to feel quite tired all the time. Meat, so protein. You need protein to build muscle. That's the truth. To build muscle, you need amino acids, and that comes from protein. So protein builds muscle. Carbs fuel you. Fats help with your sex drive, libido levels. Like, all of them have a purpose. Sugars, they are still needed too. Obviously, a bit less. You don't want to have the artificial sugars. They're still needed too. You need all of them to have a well-balanced diet. Stop getting rid of whole food groups. And there are some people who will make amazing progress just by hopping on the carnivore diet because, I don't know, it makes you feel full up. Protein burns more calories, so you just will be in better shape if you stick to carnivore, even if you don't track your calories, just because you're likely going to be eating less and because protein burns more calories. But for the majority of people, that's not sustainable. Genuinely, that isn't. The only diet that is, I believe, is this 80-20 diet, maybe even 70-30. If you are someone who is still quite undisciplined, a 70-30 diet is going to add years to your life compared to the diet you have now. You think about the average person's diet, it's, I don't know, every day wake up, bowl of cereal, then middle of the day, meal deal, make sure you get chocolate and crisps, and then, I don't know, for dinner, microwavable meal, and then snack, dessert, I don't know, cake, biscuits, whatever. 100% of the time, it's a processed food. Imagine if over time you could get it to 70-30, 80-20. The progress you would be making is amazing. Now, if you are someone who is eating right now 100% of the processed foods, then you need to work up to it. You cannot just go straight from eating the processed foods 100% of the time to only eating them 20% of the time. You need to progressively overload towards it. So progressively overloading is in the gym, you want to increase weight, increase reps to continue to build muscle, basically, to increase the stimulus and the resistance being put on your muscle to allow it to grow, right? You can use that when it comes to habits. So, for example, say you want to break your, drug addiction. You would use progressive deload, where over time you would reduce how much you were using it over time. You wouldn't just go cold turkey. Everyone knows cold turkey, it doesn't work. So the same with your diet. You progressively deload the amount of food you are eating. So 100% of the time you're eating the processed foods, right? Maybe today, tomorrow, go down to 90% of the time you eat the whole foods. You have 5 meals a day which are all processed. Maybe just switch one meal out to be the real whole foods. That is progress. Do that for a week. Try, get used to that. Then the next week, maybe go to 2 meals of the real whole foods. That means you're having 2 meals of the real whole foods and you're having 3 meals of the processed foods. Then the next week, you go 3 meals real whole foods, then 4 meals whole foods. And then at that point, it's 80-20. It's 4 meals are the real whole foods and then 1 meal are the processed foods. That is completely perfect. You have just added years to your life. You're going to build even more muscle. You are going to make so much progress just by doing that. And this isn't even talk about doing things like cardio, doing things like the other good habits when it comes to fitness. This is just diet. This isn't really about the going in the gym and doing cardio. It's not about that. It's just the diet. That is going to add years to your life. That is going to increase your life quality. You're still going to have fun on this diet. You're not going to miss out on any events. You're not going to miss out on Christmas. You're not going to, you're just going to have fun still. You don't want to make the gym and fitness your whole life. Obviously, it's a lot of my life. I go to the gym basically every day and my diet is pretty good most of the time. But still, I still go out. I eat the foods I want to eat sometimes. And it's fine because I factor that in. Please stop thinking you are some god who can just only eat the carnivore diet for the rest of his life. Only eat the real whole foods. The temptations are so high. These foods that are around us now, they are so addictive. It is genuinely impossible to completely go cold turkey from them, apart from maybe 1% of the population. You think about it, back in the day, right? Why would so many people not eat the processed foods? Well, because there wasn't that many tasty processed foods out there. And nowadays, you think about it, there are so many nice, tasty things you can eat so much of. They're so cheap. It is impossible to completely avoid them. You walk into a supermarket, you're first hit with donuts. It's impossible. And I know you think discipline can completely override it. 80% of the time it can, but not 100% of the time. You simply cannot go 100% of the time only eating the real whole foods and staying completely away from those fun processed foods. You're not going to lose years of your life if you have the processed food 20% of the time. If you have 100% of the time, of course it will. If you have 80% of the time the real whole foods, 20% of the time of the junk foods, you will be fine. Order a pizza here and there. It's okay. I promise. Make sure you change your eating habits. Make sure you start progressively deloading the amount of processed food you have until you get to a point where the balance is tipping on the scale to the real whole foods, and sometimes you enjoy the junk foods. That's it. It's meant to be sustainable. You're meant to make progress from it. It's not meant to be so restrictive you cannot stick to it. Because the person who does this 80-20 diet may make less progress in the short term compared to the person who's doing the 100% real whole food diet. But in the long run, in 5 years, the person who's doing the 100% real whole food diet is going to quit. The person who's on 80-20 or 70-30 will not, because it is sustainable. Now, in the description, there are 2 links. The first link is to my aesthetic body course. It basically teaches you how to get in shape, how to build an aesthetic body, and it goes through all of the mistakes I made that you need to avoid, which will make you make more progress than me, basically, and how to build muscle, how to gain weight, how to lose weight, how to maintain muscle mass, how to stay lean, all of the things you could possibly ever wonder about fitness, really, and how to get in shape. Then on top of that, it has bonus modules going into more specific things: how to stay consistent, how to stay motivated, how to take good pictures of your newfound physique, how to properly be healthy, how to do cardio correctly, all of these little niche things. Then on top of all of that it has my diet and workout plan, which got me looking jacked and lean. And on top of all of that, it has got me doing the exercises myself in the gym that I suggest for you, so you can just copy my form and make progress straight away. Then the second link is the link to my online one-to-one 1 hour coaching calls. You can hop on a call with me for dirt cheap for 1 hour, and I will tell you everything you need to know about fitness and getting into shape. I can answer any question you want about getting into shape, building a static physique, and how to get healthy. Go and check it out. Links in the description.